You ever pull into a gas station late at night and get that gut feeling something's off? I'm not talking about a shady-looking car or a weird cashier. I mean the kind of off that you feel in your spine, like the world around you just shifted. It happened to me in South Georgia, on a quiet stretch of road between nowhere and nowhere else. I was just looking to top off my tank, maybe grab a drink, but instead, I think I drove into another reality. What happened next made me question time, memory, and even my sanity. And the worst part? I still don't know if I ever really made it out. I was headed back to Atlanta from a buddy's place in Florida. It was just after 2 a.m., and I'd been driving for hours. Not much traffic that time of night, just me, cruise control, and a dark highway lined with pine trees and fog. It was the kind of drive where your thoughts start to wander. You know how it goes. You remember weird dreams, replay arguments in your head, imagine people you haven't seen in years. I was in that kind of headspace. I had music playing low, but mostly it was just road noise and darkness. Around 2:30, I realized I was running low on gas. I hadn't passed a station in miles, so when I finally saw a green "Gas Next Right" sign, I didn't think twice. I turned off the highway. Big mistake. The road off the highway was narrow and barely lit. My headlights caught glimpses of scrub brush and tall grass as the pavement curved through some trees. After about half a mile, I saw the gas station. It looked old, not run down, but old. The kind of place that hadn't changed much since the 80s. The lights were on, the pumps looked functional, and there was a flickering neon sign in the window that said, "Open." I pulled in and rolled to a stop by the farthest pump. There were no other cars in the lot, no movement inside the building. The air felt still, not quiet, but stuck, like everything had been frozen in place the moment I arrived. I turned off the engine and just sat there for a second. Something felt off. I couldn't explain it. The lights were on, but too bright. The colors were wrong, almost washed out. It felt like I was looking at a photograph of a gas station, not the real thing. Still, I needed gas. I got out, swiped my card, and started pumping. I remember the sound of the pump kicking in, the click of the handle, the whir of the fuel. But then, I noticed something strange. The numbers on the digital display weren't moving. No price, no gallons, nothing. I tapped the screen, jiggled the handle. Still nothing. Then, as I turned toward the station window to see if someone was inside, I froze. There were two people standing in front of the counter, a man and a woman. They were facing each other like they were talking, but they weren't moving, not swaying, not shifting, not blinking, just frozen. It was like looking at mannequins posed mid-conversation. The woman had her hand mid-air, like she was gesturing. The man had a cup in his hand that should have spilled by now, but it was just there, suspended. A chill ran down my spine. I looked around. Not a single sound. Even the bugs and frogs that usually hum in the night? Nothing. I let go of the pump handle, and that's when everything went black. Every light in that gas station, the overhead lamps, the interior fluorescents, even the flickering open sign, cut off in an instant. The place went pitch black, like someone yanked the power grid. I stood there frozen. For a few seconds, I couldn't even move. My eyes strained to adjust. The only light left came from my car's dim headlights, but even they looked wrong. Dimmer than before, like the darkness was swallowing them. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Not fast, not heavy, just slow, deliberate. They were coming from around the far side of the station. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel it, like something was circling me. My heart started racing. I backed up slowly toward my car, keeping my eyes locked on the shadows. Then I saw movement, just a flash, something tall, thin, and gray moving along the edge of the building. I didn't wait. I bolted to the driver's side, yanked the door open, and jumped in. I hit the ignition. The engine struggled. Once, twice, nothing. I slammed the key forward again and again, nothing. Then the lights came back on. Just like that, like someone flipped a switch. The station lit back up, and being the pumps hummed. The display screen on mine showed $0 and $45, but the people inside? Gone. I sat there, breathing hard. Sweat clung to my face and neck despite the cold. My hands were trembling on the steering wheel. I didn't even know if I should get out again. I was ready to floor it, low gas or not. Then something caught my eye. The rearview mirror. There was someone standing behind my car, just standing there. A man, or maybe a silhouette of a man. His features were blurred by the dimness, but he was tall, taller than average, and completely still. I stared into the mirror, not daring to turn around. Every hair on my neck stood up. The figure wasn't moving, but somehow it felt like he was watching me. Not with curiosity or anger, something worse, with intent. I glanced down to start the engine again. This time, it roared to life like normal. I shifted into reverse, even though my instincts screamed at me not to. But when I looked back up, he was gone. Not walking away, not fading. Gone, just like the people in the window. I threw the car into drive and peeled out of that lot like my life depended on it. Gravel kicked up behind me as I shot back down the access road. My heart was pounding so hard, I could barely hear the engine. As I neared the highway, I slowed just enough to merge without killing myself. The second I hit the interstate, everything felt lighter. But then I looked at the clock on the dashboard. It was still 2:30, exactly. The same time I'd turned off the highway. I didn't stop again. I didn't even blink. I just drove. I don't remember much about the next 2 hours, only that I finally saw the skyline of Atlanta a little after 4:30. I was running on fumes and pure adrenaline. I pulled into a well-lit BP near the city limits and just sat in the lot for a while. It was normal. Cars came and went. People moved naturally. Lights buzzed overhead. Everything was loud, alive, and beautifully mundane. I filled up, paid in cash, and kept my mouth shut. For a long time, I didn't tell anyone. I wasn't sure what I'd say. What could I even prove? That a gas station acted weird? That some lights went out and came back on? But it wasn't just weird. Something happened out there. Something real. The next weekend, I tried to retrace my route. I drove the same highway. I looked for that exit. Nothing. No gas next right sign. No winding side road. No station. I even checked Google Maps. I asked a few locals. No one knew what I was talking about. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about the people in the window, and the man behind my car, and the clock stuck at 2:30. I haven't taken that route since, and I never stop for gas after midnight. I've worked the night shift for years. You get used to the silence. You get used to the weird customers, the drunks, the tweakers, the loners. But one night, something came in that wasn't human, and I swear to you, I don't think it ever left. I used to work overnights at a 24-hour gas station just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. We were about 20 miles out from town, surrounded by nothing but back roads, pine trees, and darkness that felt thick enough to touch. My shift started at 10 p.m. and ended at 6 a.m. Most nights were dead quiet after 1 a.m. The only people who came in were truckers or late-night stragglers headed to nowhere. The building itself was old, like 1970s old. Rusted metal shelves, old tiles, flickering fluorescent lights. It had a storage basement, too, with a creaky wooden staircase and a door that always stuck when you tried to open it. My boss, Dave, said not to go down there unless I had to. I didn't ask why. It was my third week on the job when I noticed something odd. Every time I walked past the hallway that led to the basement, the door would be slightly ajar. Not wide open, just cracked. Enough that you could see down the stairs into that pitch black, as if something had left it open. The first few times, I figured I'd forgotten to close it right, but it kept happening. One night, around 3:30 a.m., I decided to finally go down. There were no customers. The cameras weren't recording sound, so I figured I'd check it out, just to see. I grabbed the flashlight from behind the counter and crept downstairs. The air got colder the lower I went. It didn't feel like a normal basement chill. It felt wrong. Like walking into a place you weren't supposed to be. I scanned the room. Just old boxes, a mop bucket, and old vending machine parts stacked in the corners. Then I heard it. Footsteps. On the far end of the basement. Slow, deliberate. Moving toward me. I froze. The flashlight started flickering. I tried to tell myself it was just bad wiring, a rat maybe. But then, I heard breathing. Not mine. Not human either. It was deep, slow, ragged. As if someone was exhaling through broken lungs. I turned and bolted up the stairs. Didn't look back. I slammed the door shut and jammed a mop handle under the knob. The rest of the night, I sat behind the counter, staring at the camera feed that showed the hallway. At 4:13 a.m., the basement door swung open, all by itself. I quit the next day. But life being what it is, I needed the money. So 2 weeks later, I went back. That's when things got worse. My first night back, I was nervous, but trying to pretend I wasn't. I made it to about 2 a.m. without incident. I even started convincing myself I'd imagined it. Then a man walked in. He didn't speak at first, just stood at the coffee machine, facing the wall. He was wearing an old gray hoodie, wet jeans, and his shoes looked like they'd been through hell. When he turned around, I saw it. There was a hole in his temple, like a gunshot wound, and blood, black, sticky blood, ran from it down to his neck. But the worst part? His eyes. They weren't angry or scared. They were tired, exhausted, hollow, like he'd been wandering for years. He stared at me, no blinking, no expression, just that look. Then he spoke. "Where's the pump?" I was shaking. Right outside, number 4. He nodded slowly, then walked out. The sensors didn't ding. The door didn't chime. The cameras? Nothing. I checked them later. He wasn't on any of them. I told Dave about it. He didn't even flinch. Said years ago, before he bought the place, a man had been shot at Pump 4 in a robbery. They never caught the killer. Sometimes, he said, the guy still comes around. "Don't worry," Dave told me. "He don't hurt nobody. He's just lost." That's when I started digging. I went to the library, found old newspaper clippings. March 1986, armed robbery. Young man, 26, shot point blank in the temple, died before help arrived. Surveillance back then was poor, and no one was ever arrested. The man's name was Elias Burke. A week later, he came back. Same clothes, same hole in his head. But this time, he spoke first. "You shouldn't be here tonight," he said. I froze. "Why?" He looked down at the floor, then back up at me. "He comes when the lights go out." That's all he said. Then he walked toward the door and vanished. Dave, not opened the door. Vanished. Dave. I grabbed my things and left. Called in sick for the next 3 nights. Dave. When I came back, Dave was pissed. Said someone had broken in. The back door had been busted open. Dave, the only thing missing? A mop handle. 1 month later, a storm rolled in. Tornado warnings all over the county, power flickering all night. Dave said to stay open unless we lost full power. At 2:46 a.m., the lights went out, all of them. No buzz, no warning, just black. Then, the basement door slammed. I didn't go down, but I heard it. That same breathing, louder this time, angrier. And I saw something move across the hallway camera. Just a blur. Humanoid, but tall, too tall. Its limbs were wrong, stretched, twisted. I stayed behind the counter, clutching the emergency flashlight. I didn't move until the lights came back an hour later. When they did, the floor in front of the counter was wet. Not water, blood. I never went back after that. I called Dave, told him I was done. He didn't argue. Said the last guy who quit also saw things. Same hallway, same man, same warnings. He said the land the station was built on used to be an execution site in the 1800s. Hangings, mostly. Some of the bodies were never buried proper. They say spirits don't rest where there's pain. And Elias? Maybe he wasn't the monster. Maybe he was the warning, trying to keep others away from something worse, something that still waits down in that basement. I still think about that place, about Elias, about that thing in the dark. I wonder how many others have seen it, or worse, met it. If you ever find yourself driving through Tennessee at night, and you see an old gas station off the highway, and pump 4 is lit up when everything else is dark, don't stop. No matter how low your gas tank is, keep driving and don't look back, because not every ghost wants to hurt you. Some just want to make sure you survive. Seen something strange at a gas station late at night? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy true scary stories, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one.